there. Do we have everybody admitted? Okay, thank you. I'd like everybody to meet my co-host, Laura Bell, who's our COO, and Rachel Foster, who has helped me to navigate through the many layers of Zoom meetings and breakout rooms. So thank you guys for being there to help. And I'd just like to welcome everybody. And today it's our second AI for Work Basics to Breakthroughs. And today we're going to focus on procedures. I don't know about you guys, but oh man, I just love writing procedures. It just warms the cockles of my heart to try to figure out all the different steps and then test it, so on and so forth. So I thought this might be a good thing for us to jump in and play with. So let's move on down to our second slide, and you're going to be able to download this, and I believe that Rachel is putting your slide deck right over there in the chat for you. And I'm not going to monitor chat because if I do, I'll get distracted and we won't get through this. So you'll be able to get these slides, and in there you'll see that if you need a free version of ChatGPT, that's a link that you can go out. Well, it's actually not a link, but you can type in chat.openai.com, and that'll get you. You don't even have to leave your email if you don't want to. But also, we use the $20 a month version and like having those extra features out there, but you can get a lot out of the free version. So there's a little link here that you can go look at any limitations that are out there. And when it comes to downloading a file, you'll just go over and find the file that we give you sitting in the chat window. So you can go ahead and download that. It's going to give you all the slides and any of the links and a whole lot of other information as we move through the project today. Okay, and so why are we getting together? Well, AI is here. It's not going away, and it's moving fast. Companies at all different levels are adopting it very quickly, and employees who know how to use it to help their employers are highly valued. And people who don't learn how to use AI are ultimately going to be left behind. And success is no more as much about what you know, it's about what you can do. And so, from a financial perspective, all of us want to be able to work faster and smarter and more efficiently in our day to day work. And of course, that means that AI makes our work more enjoyable and we each become more valuable to our companies in our role. For our teams, if you have other people working with you, we'd all like our other team members to be able to work faster, smarter, and more effectively so that they don't stop in our door and say, well, how do I do this? Or why do I have to do that? Or whatever. And it means that our company can provide services or products in more elegant ways, which means that you're going to be able to earn more in your company, which, of course, if your company is successful, you can be more successful as well. As far as our clients are concerned, we want them to be able to work faster, smarter, and more productively. And it means that if we help them use AI or teach them how, we start becoming their heroes because if they can have better work lives, they're just happier. And if they're happier, we're happy. So, uh, circle of life or whatever. Okay. So, just to cover what some of the elements are and the agreements that we have in place, as recordings are going to be available in 5 to 7 business days. Those of you who were here last week should have received an email with a link to the page with those recordings. And if you did not get that, you can always request it by putting in AI in tech at infoplusacct.com. That will put you into our mailing list and you'll get a link. We're going to try to close the doors to the workshop when we first start to share those ChatGPT files to download, which is usually about 10 minutes after we start. And that prevents interruptions for the people who come in on time. We don't have to stop and explain to them where we are in the process. Okay, confidential information. Yes, most of us probably have access to some confidential information. And so when you do your own ChatGPT, you could add confidential information or pretend information into your ChatGPT if you choose. Now, of course, you wouldn't want to put any client confidential information in there. That's another whole set of tips that we can talk about in one of these future sessions. But for today, if you go ahead and put something that's meaningful to you, we're always advised as consultants, work on your work. Okay, so the hypothetical stuff doesn't do it nearly as much good as when we put our own work in. But whatever you do, when you get into your breakout sessions, don't display any client or team member names or financial information in your breakout sessions. Now, today's about procedures, so I would doubt we'd run into much in that way. Okay, so for breakout sessions, you'll see a timer on your screen showing how long is left in your breakout session. So you might want to keep an eye on that. And after we close the breakout session, uh, Rachel's going to do that for us. Okay, there'll be a little delay before you rejoin the main Zoom meeting. Don't leave. We haven't closed the meeting down. Okay, just wait a minute or so and you'll get back into the main session. And those breakout sessions are not recorded, just so you know that. Okay, so make your own notes within there if you feel like there's something that you want to retain. So, my story, how did I get involved in AI? I started exploring this over a year ago, or probably going on 18 months at this point, and I got hooked. I started using a little bit, then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. Okay, so it's one of those try it, you'll like it things. And ultimately, I ended up joining the Simple AI Consultants group, and there are over 100 AI focused consultants where we share AI training and creative applications. They have fantastic training options, both free and paid, and we're a conduit to their different kinds of training and really, really cool role creations. Okay. And I learned how to use it for every role within any organization. So it's very applicable to all sorts of different environments. Okay, and for today, the flow for our workshop is that we're going to download and save this PDF slide deck from Zoom chat. I hope you guys have already been multitasking and doing that. I saw a couple thumbs up on that. And our objective today is to ask ChatGPT to create a useful procedure for us. Now, you're probably not going to want to pick out, a huge, long, huge, overwhelming procedure. This is practice in the workshop, but of course, later you could do something more complex. But here are some examples and idea starters that you might want to establish a procedure for creating a social media post or promoting a work or a school or a family event. Maybe something's, kind of starting to churn in your brain there. Organizing and decluttering a desk or a file cabinet or a closet or a garage. I'll bet everybody has one of those that could use some work. Updating your professional photo. I sat down yesterday as somebody did a timeline on what it takes to get a professional photo done. Completing and submitting an expense report. So start thinking about a wish that you want to use today and, make some room for yourself. Make a note. Say, what might I like to do? How could I get something? How can I walk away with something useful after I run this prompt? Okay, so then we're going to take about 12 minutes to work on your individual results. I'll give you the text file that you'll put in as your chat GPT. So that's probably something we can put in at this point, Rachel. You could give them that text file. And of course, right from there, you can open it up directly or you can download it and save it. Okay.
And just a tip, I'd love your ideas here for the objectives. I know that it can be a challenge to think of something right off the cuff, but if you've been working on something this morning or maybe yesterday that you're going, oh man, now what do I do? Use that as a jumping in point for the procedure that you're thinking about. Just a thought, just a tip.
Yeah. Might be, what's the procedure for getting everything going in the morning when you hit your desk or just before you get there? There's the coffee and then there's the stop and get a donut on the way. So it can be fun, it can be silly, it can be something that's really truly useful. So you're going to work on your individual results, and then we're going to break out to collaborate and discuss the results. And then we're going to have group takeaways and a wrap up. And I'll kind of say for the end the AI tip that I want to share with you, which may have something to do with what you're working on today, too. Okay, so we're going to have our 12 minutes of what I like to think of as library time. And you're going to open up, and let me just open this here. You're going to open up your text file and don't do anything with it. Okay, don't hit enter, just copy and paste it in. I'll give you a couple of instructions. And you'll notice that in here, there are instructions. Okay, and part of these instructions are for the AI. But you're going to need to put in a little bit of information. And every place where you see this colon and a blank spot is where you can go in and drop that information in. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's what we're counting on AI to help us with. So just drop in something that's good enough for now to play with. Okay. So we've got 3, 6, 9, 9 short answer things that you can fill in. After you've filled those in, you're going to click submit. Okay, and then ChatGPT is going to write something for you. And you can take a look at it, review the results. And I'm just going to tell you ahead of time, it might not be perfect. Okay, but just think about it. Is this good enough for it to be a really good start? Or if it's not perfect, then in our tip, we'll kind of talk about what you can do to help perfect it, because there's a couple different paths that you can take.
And
Okay.
Diane, I see that you've got that open in your text editor on your desktop.
Mm-hmm.
So you could modify things within your text editor and then copy and paste it into ChatGPT, or you can copy and paste it as is into ChatGPT and modify it in there before you hit enter in ChatGPT, right?
Yeah, if they want to reuse this again, I'd tell them to, save it so they can reuse it in the future. Okay. And then, make the changes inside ChatGPT. So depends on what you want to do with it.
All
Okay.
right, thanks.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start my timer. I'm going to call it about 11 minutes and I'll give you a 1 minute warning. We experimented with some on screen timers and neither one of us came up with the perfect answer. So we'll keep working on that. So I will mute myself and just let you work for a while. Okay. And I'm going to turn off my camera and mute myself. Okay, I don't know that you guys can hear the timer, but that's our 12 minutes. And I saw several things in the questions. So could you raise your hands? And I'm just going to take a minute or two to check in. And let's see. Did we take care of the copy and paste um, thing? You can unmute yourself and just say yes or no. I'm seeing somebody say yes. I didn't call anybody out, but okay. Let's see. And let's see. Why don't you raise your hand if you got a question that that I wasn't able to answer? Some people said that you hadn't used the black box before. Um, so I'm going to pull up my chat GPT and my text. Oh, well, of course, it minimized it on me. Let's try this again. Okay, and over here, and I'm in a new one, and I'm not quite sure what black box we're talking about. So I'm just going to put this in and we'll see what we see. Because I tried this a couple times. Okay, and then actually I set up one where I had put my answers in. Um, so like over here, key questions, why the procedure is important to your company's operations. And then I said spam emails that continue to arrive in the owner's inbox take time to review and mark. So getting rid of the offending senders saves the owner's valuable time. So I just kind of went through and filled that information in, and that's probably what I ought to put in is the one where I answered questions or the boxes. And so let me do Control A, Control C, Control V, or paste. And then I'm going to hit enter. And you never know exactly what you're going to get from ChatGPT. And I got some tips on that towards the end that we'll talk about. And so, are we referring to, I don't know which black box we're referring to. Can somebody unmute yourself who was talking about the black box?
I believe she's talking about her text box. She has the colors inverted.
Yeah, I do. For my migraines. I thought it was the black box. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So it was the text box, and okay,
Yeah,
so it wasn't anything with ChatGPT. Okay, good.
right.
All right. And I'll go back through this a little bit later, and then document based on your instructions. It says it failed to generate. Now I saw two of them sitting in there, so that's kind of weird. I'm going to say regenerate. Okay, but what I really like, I'll go in the background while you guys are in your breakout sessions, and you guys talk to each other about what you got, whether it was good, bad, ugly, just talk about it because there are so many ways that you can use it, and you're seeing
Diane,
stuff filling in on my screen. Okay, go ahead.
before we go to the breakout sessions, Michael has a question.
Oh, okay. Sorry, didn't see you, Michael. Okay, go
That's
ahead.
okay, Diane. Um, I was learning what you were doing here too. My question was about the under scope and applicability, the key question,
Mhm.
and because to me that was a duplicate of other questions that we answered of who was responsible for the task, and so that was what was confusing me.
Yeah, and you know
But I
what?
saw in your example that what you had
Yeah,
put in there. So
and I actually repeated answers over again because I thought, well, maybe in the future for a different procedure, I might want to fill that in differently. Okay,
okay,
just depending. Um, so yeah, that was definitely a good catch. And the other thing is I mean, this is a suggested prompt that ChatGPT created at my request, and I had to change it a couple times myself so that you guys could use it. But I didn't make this up. ChatGPT kind of made it up, and then I went through and reviewed it for us to go experiment with. So everything that you do in ChatGPT is a bit of an experiment. So okay, so let's go ahead and hit our breakout sessions. We're almost
And
on
in your
time.
breakout sessions is where you'll share your results, whether they were what you were expecting or hints and tips or anything like that.
Did everybody get something? I hope to see yeses. Okay, people got yeses. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. So Rachel is going to be the assigner, and after
And
people are in their rooms, I'll go ahead and kind of walk through mine. Okay. Okay. So while everybody's working on this on their own, as I mentioned, I had already gone and asked ChatGPT to help me create a prompt. I said, what would I want to know to create a procedure? Okay, what are the pieces and parts? And then when I put it together, I kind of created the brackets so that you guys could fill in information in those places, and I created the little underlines so you could see where you needed to fill those things in. So the title I gave it was pretty much the title I put in. I mean, that was my concept of what we were doing, and the purpose. It picked up a lot of my words. So it's interesting with ChatGPT. It's kind of like if you give it more, a whole lot, then sometimes it'll just pick up what you got and repeat it back to you. So again, I'll have some tips towards the end about how you can maybe modify some things. Okay. Um, and yet it does change the wording a bit. So, and then on the scope, it outlined what I wanted it to do. And yeah, I cheated a little bit. I went out and tested it a couple times. and I also, when I was testing, I said, ignore any memories of what I've already done. I want you to do it from scratch. Okay. Um, so if you're working with different clients, it's a good idea. And if you're doing something for a client, to tell it on the front end to ignore your memories, anything that you put in about yourself or about your company, and say this is something fresh and new. Ignore all existing memories in the system. So it outlines scope and applicability and who it applies to. This is for the owner and the VA. And the key question to answer is, how can spam emails be efficiently blocked to maintain a clean inbox for the owner? And it starts talking about what's the process. It outlines the roles and responsibilities, who's who does what, and how frequent. I said daily. I went, if we're going to have to block them anyway, why not do it every day? And then that keeps them from coming in over and over again. This gives the step-by-step process. Is the owner. The owner is supposed to identify the spam emails and mark them, and then put them in a block list folder for the VA. Okay, so that the owner doesn't have to notify the VA. The VA just knows to go to that block list folder. And also, the VA would go into the Barracuda email gateway defense software, log in, and use their assigned credentials. I didn't put any of that in because I told it what software I was using, so it knew to go to go look at that software.
So a little bit earlier, you had specified the Barracuda email gateway, right? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I did. So it's good to put in, if it's specific software, you can give it a reference, and then that way it can go look for things. Okay. And then navigate to the blacklist settings, and this says where to go. And again, I didn't test this. It just all seemed reasonable, but you would normally want to look at things, test them, make sure that it's going to work before you hand off a procedure to somebody. Now, you're seeing something interesting here. If I'm here, can you see this little tiny pop-up arrow? If I wanted to make a change here, I could click on it and I could go in and change it. And I think that might only be in the paid version. Okay, so if you don't want that feature, and I think it's called Canvas. So we're kind of in Canvas. Up here, you can, and see how it's put the prompt over on the left. Okay, but we've got the X up here. Now it looks kind of more normal. Okay.
And so if you wanted to go back into the Canvas part, would you just select the arrow? It looked like there was an arrow a little bit further down.
Well, I never tried going back into it.
Yeah, so
let me go down to the bottom.
There we go. There's a little expandy arrow. That one, yeah. So that looks like it'll open Canvas again.
Yeah, and then I think also down to the bottom you can pick out tools.
Yeah. Okay. And so
I'm just learning with everybody. This is because this whole Canvas thing was, I think Lori and I worked on this together.
Brand new.
It was kind of brand new. Canvas has been out there for a little bit, but I didn't go play with it because I was getting enough of what I wanted without going and experimenting with a whole bunch of other things. But yeah, you're right. So here, if I wanted to change a word or two in there, I could go over here.
That's the first time I've seen or been aware of that plus sign, Diane, because my response has always been to go back to message ChatGPT and say, in step 2, you said this and it didn't work. So that's really interesting. That's a new one for me. Cool.
Yeah, you could just go in, and it's just like every day there's something new and different out here. There's a scheduler out here. I don't know what that is. I haven't. I do have a life.
I mean, our
other
scope
than
here,
this,
our scope is
exactly.
here to help folks get familiar with ChatGPT. So this is
right. And then it laid out scope and applicability. And the reason we're seeing these headers is because those were the headers inside. If we look back over at our See, like here we've got scope and applicability, roles and responsibilities, step-by-step process. This was the way that ChatGPT told me to write the prompt, that these are primary pieces that you would see inside a procedure. Okay. But you can always change that, So maybe another class we'll talk about how to have GPT help you write a prompt. Okay, because we don't all know how to write a prompt.
Well, I'm glad you showed that to us, Diane, because that never would have occurred to me to go back and look at the set of prompts that you've got there, or the contents of the prompt that you've got there, and compare it to the output that we're seeing here in Canvas. That's very cool too.
Right, and then it says this part is to be generated by the AI. Okay, down in here. So this is where I filled information in up above. So see, I cheated and just brought in the one that I put together last night because it just takes a little while. You have to sit and think and fill things in. So, okay, cool. And step-by-step process. So yeah, there's repeat in here. But a long time ago, sitting in somebody else's webinar, is certainly not my thought, but we learned a phrase. Somebody said Getmo, and I went, Getmo, what's that? That means good enough to move on. And so, I'll be talking about the tips, but this might be something where you go, yeah, there's a lot of repeat in here. Okay. I could copy and paste this into Word. And if you do it in a particular way, although I didn't really bring up a Word document to show you, but it's kind of like there's a little middle paste thing that will bring in all the formatting and so on. And you can bring it into Word and then, just modify it. Go, well, don't need that line, don't need that line, pull this out, add. So you can just go in and manually fix it over in Word, but you got something that gets you 90% of the way where you really need to go. And so go ahead, Rachel.
One thing I have done is usually at the end of procedures, I'll say, message me here with this title to the person that's actually working on this and say, these are my suggestions. And it usually works on a smaller organization, but that way they're beta testing your more final version, and then we can keep refining it.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I have a tendency to come up with an end idea. I have an end idea of something I want. And then Laura will come along and go, well, yeah, but what's the first step? And then what's this next step? And what's the next step? And I go, well, I don't know. I haven't thought my way through that yet. And so this could help me do that and say, well, here's where I am now. Here's where I want to go. Can you give me the logical interim steps? So there's just lots of ways to use this. So our whole goal with this group is just to give people experience in using ChatGPT and to become more of an expert. Then of course, you need to get into some deeper training and so on. So I still feel like I'm at the beginning stages, but it's just so much fun and so useful that I wanted to make this kind of stuff available. So how are we doing our breakout room time?
30 seconds.
Okay. So we'll be pulling people back in. Thank you for handling all the breakout rooms, Rachel. And so now let's just take a few minutes. And so one of the assignments was to choose somebody to take notes. Okay. And then that person is going to share some of the takeaways from the group, not just from themselves, but from the group in total. So could you see, I got 2 coffee cups or 2 lattes or whatever's in the cups that makes me want one right now. Let's go out and get some takeaways from people. So would the people who were the note takers and the conveyors of information raise your hands, and then we'll go around and call on you?
Yeah, we didn't really physically take notes either, but Janet, since you seem the most excited about everything, I would pick you just to kind of relay what we learned, because I think it was you were the most inspired. Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't used it before, so it was really fun to kind of put my dad in there. I was looking to do like a social media post for our kitchen and bath remodel. And so I, said I wanted to do before and after pictures, and I wanted to create something engaging. I wanted to have an offer and a call to action. And so it was pretty specific. I mean, it told me, when I'm doing the before and after pictures, obviously, like make sure that they are, clear, that you have a well lighted background. I mean, it gave you tips and tricks on doing that. It also gave me kind of like a catchy phrase to use. And of course, I could expand on that and say, I would like more of this, of course. So what I learned is like you can get more granular with it, and you can keep telling it like I want more specifics, or can you give me an example of that? And then we talked about too, like, because I use Microsoft, so I've seen the Microsoft Copilot ads and stuff, and I haven't used that before. So this one seems to be, from the consensus of the group, ChatGPT seems to be the best for like words and things like that. And one of our group had actually put in some spreadsheets and gotten back graphs and analysis. And so that's pretty cool because not that Tracy, not that I would get rid of my bookkeeper, but that it would help me analyze more without having to ask her. So it was very fun. I really liked it.
Cool. Okay. Our next group. Can somebody raise their hand?
And even if you didn't have a specific note taker, like Janet and Tracy mentioned, they didn't have a specific note taker, don't let that keep you from jumping in and giving us some ideas and thoughts on your discussion.
I'll go ahead and go for group 2 since we didn't have a specific note taker. I was in with Janice and Steve, and we were just talking about just how in depth you can get with ChatGPT. Janice has been using Copilot and kind of testing the waters with that, and is kind of amazed at just how in depth you can go. Like you mentioned, the spreadsheets, the analysis. Steve shared he's been doing graphics with it that are just phenomenal and super easy to incorporate into his business. And I, of course, shared that I'm using it every day. I mean, it's multiple times a day. I'm in asking it a question, just like it's my own virtual private assistant. So it's so powerful. And the GPT you had us working with on the procedures, I drilled down on the procedure I was asking for, and I asked it to also create a chart for me that could then be converted into a task list. So that's another something you can do with ChatGPT, is have it create the forms and the documents you need in order to sustain what procedure it is that you just asked it to create for you.
Absolutely. The depth that you can take it to, we're in a confined workshop time space. Okay. So there's no way. I mean, every time we get together, I'll try to bring you a different type of prompt and have you experiment with it just to kind of broaden your scope of the kinds of things that you can do, and particularly if you start getting some training underneath it. But this is like dipping your toes into the shallow end of the pool and going, ooh, this is kind of fun. So, okay, next.
I guess I can go.
Okay.
Well, we were talking about, of course, the different ways we've used it, and just in so many, from, business, and how should you reply to someone who is perhaps a client that you're trying to keep, or uh, uh, a proposal that you're making to someone in business, to this is what I have in the refrigerator. Come up with a meal that I can cook simply tonight. And work on my schedule. This is what I have to do. How can I make these things fit? I mean, it's just incredible what it can do. And that we're also being very mannerly and saying please and thank you to it, just in case it takes over one day.
Well, I found I had been advised that I shouldn't necessarily be overly nice to software, but that's just the way I write. I do a lot of please and thank yous, and let it know that it's heading in the right direction. So, yeah, and it never hurts. Have your foot in both camps. Any other groups that we haven't heard from?
Hi everyone. So for our group with Ted and Rebecca, so I'm the one who gonna discuss. So, um, during the discussion, it takes a lot of courage to present everything that we have, but it is very useful since Ted is the one is a person which he is starting his own business, and with Miss Rebecca, um, I think it's like 30 years that she owns her own business. And then, when using ChatGPT, it's very useful since in just a poof in a few seconds, you will gain a lot of ideas, details, and information, and it's very useful. You will not scroll down, scroll up, click here, click everywhere. ChatGPT will give us everything that we need, and it is good. Especially, I'm from the Philippines and I'm working with Miss Diane. Here in the Philippines, we are behind with the technologies, and I'm very thankful that this kind of workshop is given for free. We need to attend this one, and we probably not miss this opportunity. Okay, that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, sounds like we've kind of heard from everybody. And again, the objective of this is to just get people's toes in the water, your fingers in the sink, whatever, whatever the analogy uh, is for you, but just to get you to try it. And then, once you start trying it and liking it, then, you may want to go on for more training. And so just our little mini commercial here in the middle, and then we're going to go on to AI tips and some other ideas. If you want to be notified, if you're not on our mailing list. Uh, that's where you would let us know. The AI and Tech InfoPlus at infoplusacct.com. We'll make sure you get in the list to be notified. And then you'll receive this 10 ways AI training transforms teams and drives results. If you want to spend a few minutes, I am not a high pressure salesperson. Okay. If you just want to talk to me and explore what other free AI resources, as well as some paid options for training, there's my Calendly link. So just go out and set a time for a 30-minute meeting. And, if we're done in 10 minutes, that's fine. But we'll start with the 10 minutes. Additionally, we've been in business here at InfoPlus Consulting for many years. Our primary focus in the past has been on helping people use desktop to set up their job costing. And I've developed various support products that can help people do that. So all those links are live. You can go look at those as you wish. Okay, and you've got the slides and the links. So we're here to help. Okay, so tips. Okay, you want to modify your results. I figured ahead of time that you guys weren't all going to get exactly what you wanted. So the first option is just continue to talk to it like you would to an assistant. Okay, so you send your high school assistant off to the store to get a loaf of bread. They come back with a jug of milk. Well, you say, no, sorry, that's not what I asked you to get for me. Go back and try again. Return the bread, bring me, or return what you bought that you shouldn't have, and get me what I wanted. Okay. You can be specific and tell it to modify certain sections. You can change the tone to be more something or other, whether you want it to be professional or humorous or friendly or, you can also give it like a grade level if you wanted to talk to like a 10th grade level, which seems to be a pretty good reading level for most people. You can ask it to add or delete things. You can ask it questions. So here, sometimes I'll say, can you do this? And it says, oh, yes, I can do this. And then you try to get it to do it, and then it times out. And, an hour and a half later, you're finding this wasn't such a good idea. So, you can't always believe it if it tells you that it can do something. Again, it's kind of like a friendly teenager that just wants you to think it can do anything. Okay. And in fact, sometimes you just have to test it and see if it will do that. Now, the other thing that we looked at on my side, which will also be in the recording, but as we were looking at this, we saw that there's a little sign over here, And this is where it's gone into kind of what it's called canvas mode. And you can click here and you could go in and just retype what you want in here. Okay, so it's like an editing mode before you get all done and copy it out into your Word document. If you don't want to see it looking like this with your chat off to the side, you can click the little X and then it starts going back in and looking more normal. The other thing I didn't mention is, see this? You could just go back up in and change your prompt. However, be aware that if you change your prompt, if you edit your prompt up here and you rerun it, you're going to lose everything that it gave you down below. So if you want to keep what it gave you the first time out of the gate, where you go, well, it was pretty good, but not perfect. That it's going to copy and paste it first before you go up and hit the edit mode and have it rerun, because you're never going to, that's the other thing, you will never get exactly the same answer from exactly the same prompt, because it's all little individual. Yes, I know it's not people, but it's like little individual brains out there working in its own independent way. Okay, so you're
Diane,
never
I
going to get the
really
same
like that.
response.
I like your tip on being able to go in and edit the original prompt, because sometimes the fingers don't work quite right, and I hit enter before I've got my modifications made, or before I've got the entire question in there. So I like that tip that you can actually go in and edit that in the first place and go, wait, no, let me do it this way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Laura, did you know that you can hit the little black square after you've hit enter and it will stop running the prompt?
I did not know that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So if it's in the process of answering you and it's like, oh God, I sent it down a wrong path, you can hit that little square and it'll stop the prompt.
Cool. Thank you.
We have meetings internally now that we've all become converts. We have meetings where we share different things that we've done with ChatGPT so we can learn from each other. Okay, the other option is just start with a new chat. If your results start going way off track, just tell it at the beginning of the next one, tell it to ignore any previous memories related to this prompt, as if you had no related memories of it, and then re-enter and modify your prompt. Sometimes it's just easier to go back in and kind of start over. Okay. And last thing, last time I gave you guys 3 ideas to try. I don't know if anybody did it. I should have asked for feedback, but this time I'm going, just try one thing. And here's a create client FAQs or answer one-time simple questions. This has saved us a lot of time. Somebody will write in and say, well, how do I do this? And I go, oh, geez, I'm going to have to go set up something and, take half an hour, 45 minutes. And this isn't even somebody who's a client, just somebody who's in our readership. And this has been kind of a lifesaver for coming up with some of those one-off questions. And then just to let you know what's coming up this Friday, we're going to have the customized action book called Change by Design. You can read about what that is. And for the Friday ones, it's a separate registration from the Tuesday seminars that we're doing, workshops. And then Tuesday, the 25th, we're going to be looking at monthly, weekly, and daily steps to get it done. So if you've got something that's been hanging over your head and you just can't quite bring yourself to tackle it because you go, oh, geez, yeah, I know I should break it down into little pieces, but you haven't gotten there. Well, let's do that next time. Okay, so that's what's coming. So thank you everybody for being here. I think we made it, and take care, everybody.
Thank you, Diane.
See you in a couple weeks and hopefully on Friday. Okay.
Thank you.